What's up everyone? If you're just tuning in now on this news, it's like about 2 days late, or give or take. I was covering this entire thing on my live stream. It took me about like 2.5 hours, give or take, to fully cover this news. I went through everything in detail. I read through the whole post on my live stream and I gave my input. But to sum it up, there is this thing that has been going on, right? This toxic wave that has been just washing over the CN community in terms of the Wanderer. So Scaramouche, why this character? So I'm going to be going over roughly summarizing this post for you. I'm not going to make you sit here and read through all this. That's why you're likely watching this video. What the hell is going on? So this has been going on for 8 months apparently, and finally somebody made a post on Reddit to kind of fill everyone in. If you guys think this is just some very baseline derogatory harassment stuff, you are sorely mistaken. The length at which some of these people have gone to, I don't think I can even say really what they did, because that will immediately get the video demonetized. Like, it is vile how badly. Like, if you guys ever taken like the nastiest dookie times 10, whatever you have in your mind times 10, that's how bad some of these things have been. All right, now to get to the beginning of it, it all started when the character Wanderer was initially released. There are people in China, and I'm just gonna say it, like, they're very weird people. If you thought people on Twitter were weird and awkward, these people in China, like, they're really weird. So they have an issue with Scaramouche because they don't like his character, his backstory, as well as his attitude. The attitude thing really seems to rub people the wrong way, especially like men, egotistical men who don't like being talked down to, especially not by a bratty video game character. So they took strong offense to that. Now, since then, they've been trying to harass, they've been trying to defame, and also trying to locate the story writer for Scaramouche's story. So they've gotten as far as to send official statements to have Scaramouche be deleted from the game. They're hijacking the idea that the character Scaramouche and his story is like this military thing about anti-Chinese, or being rooted in like the Japanese Second World War philosophies and such. So these people have then since attacked anybody who has shown any sort of positive reinforcement for Scaramouche. You're talking about artists, you're talking about general fans, you're talking about cosplayers, and of course people who claim to main Scaramouche. Now, the things they are labeling the fans and supporters of Scaramouche is just like, if you said this stuff in the West, you would immediately be canceled. Like, immediately you would be canceled. You would likely be hunted down and have your life ruined. But in China, not so much. It's these people are the ones who are basically out hunting for Scaramouche fans and Scaramouche lovers. So basically they're calling like people comfort stations. They're referring people to Japanese concentration camp names and stuff like that. Yeah, like, they're basically taking the vile language and labeling of the Second World War and the people who have suffered through that, and they're labeling Scaramouche fans as such. They're basically linking the two, and then they have the gall to come and say that Scaramouche is the one that's like eliciting this type of behavior in the community. So it's really a backwards way of thinking about all this. Like, they're the ones who's going out of their way to label people as such and harassing people for something that they enjoy, while they're saying that Scaramouche is the one that caused all this. Now, you'll soon see how messed up this is, because there is an incident that they are also harassing and leaking information regarding this cosplayer. Well, the cosplayer themselves probably didn't decide to cosplay and upload it, more so their parents got them to. Now, this is a cosplayer who's under the age of 8, and they have become a target for this wave of hatred. Like, as you guys see, these people see nothing but red. They have no boundaries. They have no line to be drawn here. They will attack anyone who so as to say anything positive or to promote the image of Scaramouche. Now, you guys might be sitting here wondering, like, Walrus, why? Why? It can't be because this character is a bratty, egotistical guy. Like, there's no way. There has to be something more than this. And I'm here to tell you, so far, the information that has come out, this is it. There is nothing more. It's simply because they hate Scaramouche. So they've even come up with like this sequence of numbers to spam during like live streams for both official and non-official live stream. Basically, it's like a string of number that represents their hatred for Scaramouche, and it's like has a derogatory meaning behind it, because if they were to type the actual message, they would be instantly banned. So they just came up with a string of numbers. So if you think about it, a movement full of hatred that has been elevated to the point where it has like a controlled group of people. I swear there's like hierarchies in this as well, like people actually pushing this movement along. We have seen similar things in Genshin Impact and in other titles as well, but we've never seen anything that has lasted 8 months. With the current Scaramouche rerun, the community was very happy to see that the numbers for the banner has just tanked. It's abysmal, right? CN is a huge moneymaker for Hoyoverse. Now, the people, their end goal is not to get Scaramouche changed, it's not to get his story rewritten, it's not any of that. They want him deleted. They've gone as far as to officially report the character to the Shanghai local government to hopefully have them review the characters and his backstory and basically confirm that it's like anti-China or too political to be having in the game. And they've gotten an official response saying, hey, we've looked through the game, we've played through the character and everything. Yeah, get this. Like the government official actually sent somebody to play through the game, test, and really gather all the literature and stuff like that. And they've came to the conclusion that Scaramouche did not violate any of the political rules and boundaries that have been set in place for literature in China. So now these guys are like, oh, damn. They're like sitting there twiddling that, damn, we couldn't get the government to veto this decision to delete Scaramouche from the game. But jokes on them. For Hoyoverse, like I've said many times in the past, if you guys ever want information about the background of Chinese content creation, I have worked there for a couple years, and I do know that most of literature, at least published online, now of course not everything, there are definitely stories that are published online that don't have to go through government regulations, but for big companies like Hoyoverse, especially if they're releasing titles or like movies and stuff, TV shows that's going to be broadcasted and whatnot, definitely they're all reviewed. You cannot make it public without having it reviewed. So likely Hoyoverse has already gone through the reviewing process with the local government to make sure that everything is up to standard for release. So jokes on them, it was never going to get overturned and deleted from the game. What's worse is that there was actually a video of the recording of someone who actually managed to get in contact with the Shanghai publishing officials. So these people likely regulate what could and could not be published in at least the Shanghai district, which Hoyoverse or Mahoyo in CN is located. That's where their HQ is. So what better people to overrule Hoyoverse's decision than the publishing officials who govern Shanghai, right? So I'm going to leave all the links regarding this down in the comment section and as well as in the description. So if you guys want to go listen to it, if you know CN, make sure to go ahead and check that out. But back on the news of this post, right? If you guys take a look at here, it's 9.7k. If you guys don't frequent the Reddit page very often, you wouldn't really know how significant of a number this is. So we just take a quick gander across the Reddit page here for Genshin Impact. You'll see that 9,000 upvotes is unheard of. There has not really been anything that has gained nearly as much traction in the recent times, right? Like fan art, it's the most you're gonna see, like 4,700, and that's like half of what the current post is. Like people just came out of nowhere and really got behind this movement. What I'm basically saying is this post is a huge freaking deal. EN is like, with all its faults, I would like to think EN is more of a humane server. Like we actually do care, even though yes, we do have our bad apples too, but it never really has ever gotten to this point. I never heard of anybody being like harassed, beaten, or just assaulted at like an anime convention or something. Right now, like I'm not kidding you guys, people are scared to even go out in public cosplayed as Scaramouche. You might get egged, you might get harassed, you might actually get your personal info leaked. They might not do anything to you in real life, but they'll have your personal info link. There are artists who have their personal info link. Like I mentioned earlier, the cosplayer who was like a child basically had their entire personal information. Whatever they could find, they leaked it, they showcased it. So now, like, honestly, that was the parents' fault. Never really use your kid to farm for clout on the internet. Like, what are they thinking? But regardless of that, there's one last thing I want to talk about, because like, if you guys thought it ended at just harassment and e-bullying, you're sorely mistaken. There have been people who went out of their way to actually cause real harm. Like, we're talking animal abuse. Okay, like, there's no easy way to say it. I don't even want to say it. Just read what is on screen. Yes, there have been people who went out of their way to do these things to prove their hatred. So this is where the whole egotistical thing is. Like, as a cultural thing, Chinese people, like as I've known, a lot of the really, really extreme ones are extremely egotistical. If they feel like they back themselves into a corner, be like, oh, I need to do something to prove that I'm actually full on in this, they'll go to extreme length to make a point. To share a story, I actually had a friend who almost drank himself to death just to prove a point, even though number one, he could not hold his liquor. Number two, he knew that people were going to egg him on, and any sane person would know, okay, I'm about to really pass out. I'm really at my limits here. It's time to stop. But no, he kept chugging along. He kept chugging along, even when his opposition was saying, hey, dude, that's enough. All right, we get it. Like, you know, you can hold your liquor, because that's a whole thing, cultural thing. But no, he had to keep going. He's like, you know what? Bring me that other bottle. I'm going to finish that as well. And bring me that bottle. I'm going to finish that as well. No. Remember, this is a Chinese environment. People were drinking like strong Chinese liquor. Like, off the top of my head is like, what, 30%, 40% alcohol. The guy was basically saying, I'm just going to end it all here for the sake of my pride and my ego. I wouldn't be surprised to know that some people went to this length, but just seeing it here once again reminds me how messed up of of environment this really is. I really hope that this thing eventually dies down. I do think it will, because they basically played all their cards. There's nothing left to do. They tried to get the government involved, which is like the last thing they could hope for if they want someone to intervene and veto a decision over Hoyoverse. And that has since failed. They're not going to be able to convince Hoyoverse, because if Hoyoverse bends the knee now and deletes Scaramouche or change Scaramouche or does whatever to Scaramouche, I do think that this is a very, very bad sign going forward for Hoyoverse, because there will likely be more threats and attempts like this to get Hoyoverse to do the bidding of the community. So what I think is going to happen is Hoyoverse might find a middle ground. Scaramouche may not appear as much going forward in the story, right? And now the story is written by a team of people. There's not really one person in charge of writing the entire story of Genshin Impact and its side quests and stuff like that. But surely, if Hoyoverse wants to make more money from the community, and they know that every time Scaramouche now is rerunning, there's going to be a huge dip in the sales, right? If they're smart and they're business oriented, they'll likely just steer away from Scaramouche and maybe take him away from a lot of the future stories and not as relevant of a character, basically. Which sucks for Scaramouche, but at the same time, I don't think Hoyoverse is going to let something like this hinder their ability to earn income. Although deleting the character is too much, but also at the same time, ignoring this large portion of the community is also going to hurt them more in the long run. Like, what if people start banding together, like, oh, we're just gonna do this to all your banners, right? Who knows? Honestly, this has been like the biggest drama case I've ever seen, regardless of region. Like, CN really has taken the cake. These people are just batshit crazy, if I say so myself. Honestly, people, take care of yourselves. And one last thing before I end the video is, if we could somehow get the Twitter community, and I said this in my live stream, if we can somehow get the Twitter community to now go and defend Scaramouche, we can actually pit the most toxic community in the West against the most toxic community in the East, and have an e-battle online with translations going on back and forth. Maybe we can solve this by just utilizing toxic, right? In Chinese, they even have a saying called 以毒攻毒, using toxic to fight toxic. People, get on it, spread the news, get the Twitter warriors in action, you know, especially with everything that's gone on. We need the Twitter warriors. They're the only ones who has the time and the effort and the energy to win us this battle. All right, people, take pride right now, and let's get this started. Till next one, we're gonna stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye-bye.